There was a moment during the coronation, so subtle most people missed it. No announcement, no headline, no official explanation. But if you were paying attention, it said everything. Not a single person curtsied to Camilla, not even Catherine. And that silence? It spoke louder than anything said that day. Because behind the gold, the crowns, and the centuries of tradition, something was shifting inside Buckingham Palace. Something deliberate. Something calculated. And if you connect the dots, it looks a lot like this. King Charles is quietly building a future that does not revolve around his own wife. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Because at some point behind closed doors, Camilla reportedly made a final request about her future in the monarchy. And the palace didn't debate it. They didn't negotiate. They simply said no. So, what did she ask for? And why does that answer tell us exactly where the monarchy is heading next? To understand this, you have to rewind. Back to 2005. When Charles married Camilla, the mood in Britain wasn't celebration. It was tension. Because Diana wasn't just a memory. She was still very much alive in the hearts of the public, and the palace knew it. So they made a promise. When Charles became king, Camilla wouldn't be called queen. She'd be princess consort. It sounded humble, it sounded respectful, but here's the part most people never realized. That title doesn't actually exist, not in law, not in royal tradition, not anywhere. It was a strategy, a way to calm public outrage, without actually changing the outcome. Because the moment Charles became king, that promise quietly disappeared. Camilla became queen. Just like the system always intended, but here's the twist nobody saw coming. Even that might not be enough anymore. Fast forward to the coronation in 2023. This was supposed to be Camilla's moment, her arrival, her victory after decades of public scrutiny. And Charles made sure of it. No other woman was allowed to wear a tiara. Not even Catherine. Think about that. The most photographed woman in the royal family, intentionally toned down on the biggest royal stage in decades. That wasn't random. That was protection. Charles was making one thing clear. This day belongs to Camilla. But here's where it backfired, because even without a crown, people couldn't stop looking at Catherine. And once you notice that, you start asking a very uncomfortable question. Why was it so important to dim her presence in the first place? Because the truth is, you don't try to hide someone unless you already know how powerful they are. And from that point on, things started changing. Quietly, strategically, almost like a long game. Charles began elevating Catherine in ways that didn't feel accidental. Titles, visibility, symbolic roles with real weight behind them. The kind of backing Diana never got. Let that sink in. The same institution that once left Diana exposed is now building protection around Catherine before she even needs it. That's not coincidence, that's correction. And if you've been watching closely, the internet picked up on it fast. Social media exploded. Commentators started connecting the dots. And suddenly, a pattern was forming. Us not around Camilla, but around Catherine. Then came 2026, and one magazine headline that hit like a shockwave. Arise, Queen Kate. Not future queen, not someday. Queen. Right now in the narrative. And people started asking, why does it feel like the next reign is already being written, while the current one is still happening? Because here's the reality nobody in the palace will say out loud. Catherine isn't just popular, she's dominant. Polling numbers don't lie. William and Catherine sit at the top, Charles trails behind, and Camilla near the bottom. And in a system built on public support, that matters more than anything. So imagine being Camilla. After 30 years of criticism, sacrifice, waiting, you finally wear the crown, and then suddenly, the spotlight moves, not slowly, not subtly, but completely. And here's the part that really changes everything. Catherine never attacked her, never competed publicly, never played the game. She didn't need to. Because this wasn't personal, it was gravity. And you can't fight gravity. Now this is where things get serious. Behind palace doors, Camilla reportedly asked for clarity about her future, her role, her place, after Charles, a guarantee, stability, something to hold on to. And the response? No, not harsh, not dramatic, just firm. Because the monarchy doesn't operate on emotion, it operates on survival. It protects the future, not the past, and in that moment, the message became clear. The crown had already started moving on, and maybe the most ironic part of all of this is Diana's shadow is still shaping everything. Well, because what Charles is doing now? The support, the visibility, the protection around Catherine. That's exactly what Diana never received. It's almost like history is being rewritten in real time. But this time, he's getting ahead of it. And Catherine, she's not just stepping into the role, she's becoming something bigger than it. Through her work, her image, even her comeback after illness, she didn't just return, she elevated, and now she's not waiting to be queen. She already feels like one. Which leads to the question nobody can avoid. Where does that leave Camilla? Because in the future, when William takes the throne, everything shifts. Titles change, positions reset. And Camilla? She steps aside, not erased, not dishonored, but no longer central. And after everything it took to get there, that might be the hardest reality of all. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Camilla deserved a more secure place in the monarchy's future? Or was this always inevitable? And be honest, because this is one of those moments where public opinion actually matters. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy breakdowns like this, real stories, real power moves, the stuff happening behind the headlines, then you already know what to do. Subscribe because the next